All right, thank you for staying with us. This is Daybreak and Trust Television. Time for us to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak. As always, we'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. The lead story here says, parents cry out as bandits abduct 39 children from Katsina farm. The writer says 2 soldiers, 25 ISWAP fighters killed in gun duel in Borno. Don't ignore US-UK terror alerts, reps tell FG. And you also have, we've devised tactics to overwhelm enemies, says Army Chief. You'd find all of that on page 4. And then just above the lead story, how I will end insecurity, create jobs, boost economy, says Kwankwaso. You'd find that on page 37. Bank fraud. Kogi Assembly candidate arrested with 326 million naira, $610,500. You'd find that on page 3. And then Tinubu will end insurgency in 6 months, says Shetima. And that's on page 5. Now, the pictorial shows you a miner dispensing black market fuel into the tank of a dispatch rider in Jabi, Abuja, yesterday. That story speaks volumes. I mean, the picture there speaks volumes about, you know, child labor and all of that. I mean, children like this should be in school, right? You have others. EFCC probing Mambila project, power minister. You'd find that on page 27. Tension in Edo community as 10 corpses found inside bush. Senators reject defense budget over minister's failure to honor sermons. Emirate Council shuts market in Niger over fear of attack. Let's not forget that we still have 11 schoolgirls of FGC Birnin Yawuri, 503 days now, still in captivity. 1 student of Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama, 476 days, still in captivity.
All right, now let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. It has a late story that says, dollar crisis, EFCC plans massive raid on forex dealers. The first rider, Naira's free fall worsens, now 857 Naira. Abuja forex dealers flee into hiding. We also have, as a rider, Kogi politician arrested with 326 million Naira. BDC operators back commission. And beneath that, you see a pictorial showing bags apparently maybe containing the money that was found on the politician. Also, we have commuters lament, want Lagos drivers back. Drugs, wanted Lagos hotelier, 6 houses. Hotelier, 6 houses, 270 million Naira seized. Campaign, Kwankwaso to recruit 1.5 million soldiers, policemen. And just by the masthead, how late Olumakai battled illness in UK hospital. This is coming according to an associate. And above the masthead, Davido, autopsy likely as police free 6 workers, detained 2. Why I am better than Atiku Obi on economy. This is according to Tinubu. These are the stories on the Punch newspaper for today.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. It leads with the Guardian leads with the lead story that says 2023 rift widens in Southwest over Afenifere endorsement style. It has the riders that says conscience of Yoruba nation endorsed Tinubu, not Afenifere. I remain Afenifere leader. We are backing Tinubu. Fasoranti insists. Southwest students ask Adebanjo to set aside grudges, adopt Tinubu. Tinubu woos private sector, promises double GDP if he wins. Manifestos not enough, walk the talk. experts tell presidential candidates. You'd also find just below the masthead medical trip, Clark chides Buhari over failure to transmit power to VP. Airlines count losses, relocate operations as union shuts down MMA2. Akintoye laments a foreign terrorist invasion of Southwest. Ohaneze urges FG to honor Amechi's memory, release Kanu. You have also at a footnote, stakeholders canvass retooling of eligible customer policy as 9,000 megawatts power remains stranded. Why police didn't prosecute Tinubu for alleged forgery. So these are some of the stories on the front page of The Guardian this morning.
Now let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. It leads with a story that says, I will unbundle transmission to provide power, says Tinubu. And the first rider restates commitment to double-digit GDP, promises consumer credit revolution, renewed anti-terror war. And also we have US-UK terror warnings will hurt Nigeria's economy. This is according to the federal government. We also have, you can't lead PDP to victory, Wike insists. And above the masthead, this is from Fasharanti, Afenifere has endorsed Tinubu. We also have passengers stranded as unions picket NMA2. Investors lose 2.8 trillion as sell-off worsens. Still on the Nation, police probe Davido's domestic workers over son's death. These are the major stories on the Nation newspaper for today.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Independent newspaper this morning. It leads with the story that says alleged forgery. Why police won't prosecute Tinubu, according to the IGP. Chaos at Lagos airport over unions picketing of by Courtney. You also have $6 billion probe, EFCC action hampering Mambila power project. You'd see that on page, and that's according to the minister. Also, terror alert. We have beefed up security in Abuja, says defense minister. NDLEA declares Lagos a socialite wanted for alleged drug trafficking. And foreign terrorist in Southwest, Akintoye raises the alarm. Ohaneze Uzodimma mourn Amechi, first aviation minister. EFCC rates black market forex dealers as dollar exchanges for 850 naira. Arrest Kogi Assembly candidate, others with 326 million naira and $610,500. FG investment in mining paying off, says Buhari. So these are stories on the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper.
All right, now let's look at the Leadership newspaper. The Leadership newspaper has a lead story that says 2023 campaign, Atiku, Tinubu, Kwankwaso offer solutions to ailing economy. And above that, we have redesigning Naira won't check rising inflation. This is coming from analysts. And we also have PMB Soludo, others mourn as Mbazulike dies at 93. We also have presidential candidates, others condole with Davido Chirma over son's death. Still on the Leadership newspaper, Courtney decries picketing of workers at Lagos airport. EFCC probes Mambila power project. Also, we have terror alerts devastating to economy. This is coming from the federal government. These are the stories on the Leadership newspaper.
All right. So let's get perspectives on some of these stories. This morning we have in the studio Ben Sherman, the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, to give us perspectives. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
My pleasure. And I can see that the two of you are almost wearing red.
The official color
the
of
studio
today.
is so designed that way.
what a coincidence, I would say to that. All right, now let's take a look at some of these stories this morning. Let's begin with security issues. Now, the lead story on Daily Trust says parents are crying out as bandits abduct 39 children from Katsina farm. I mean, this in the past few days, the whole discussion about insecurity in the country has heightened. We are seeing a promise by one of the running mates of the APC presidential candidate saying Tinubu will end insurgency in 6 months. Initially, I mean, the actual statement says 6 months and 1 year, you know. So when you hear that promise, is it new? And do we have what it takes really to ensure that this happens? Even though we have a promise still outstanding that insurgency will end by December this year. So we've not forgotten that.
Yeah. Before I come to that, when you are reeling out statistics in terms of days, when Yauri girls are being held in captivity, Bethel girl, we forgot Leah Sharibu. We also forgot those we can't account for in Chibok. Some are returning because of the pressure they are seeing from the soldiers in Northeast, thanks to the Force Commander, General Chris Gwabin. So we thank the soldiers for doing all of that. But again, now we come to the issue of Shettima saying Tinubu will end insurgency in 6 months. So the president says in December, everything will be over. So is it that Tinubu does not trust what the presidency is saying? Then when you say in 6 months, is it 6 months from May 21st next year, and the 29th next year? Or after you must have formed your cabinet and you've sworn them in, you now start counting 6 months? And so some of these statements from politicians, they don't give real hope. They take the shape of amoeba.
So this is the statement. I would like to take a quote from that, actually. He says, within 6 months and 1 year, my leader, Tinubu, will mobilize the leadership to end this madness. So talking about
within
insecurity.
6 months and 1 year.
Exactly. So
that makes
I've been trying to understand
that makes
what that means. Are we talking about a year and a half now in terms of 18 months? Or are we saying between 6 months and 1 year? So maybe within 1 year now, or what? It's something that is not clear. But in any case, this is not new. I mean, we've had this promise before, isn't it?
Yeah, you see, that reminds me of George Orwell in his novel 1984. The thing you call doublespeak. You speak, yes, you just utter words, and people do not just understand what you're saying. This is an example. And during that period, the Oceania, that country within the Oceanian George Orwell novel, there was Ministry of Plenty that was in charge of starvation. There was Ministry of Truth that was in charge of telling lies. There was Ministry of Peace that was in charge of bombing people. And so some of these things, look, when you are talking, give us exactly, talk on the line. Say exactly what you mean so that we know what you mean. Don't dribble us. We know politics. When it comes to politics, we have, I mean, Maradonic, if there's a word like that, Maradonic moves here and there. But again, let us talk. We're talking of lives of human beings, lives of Nigerians that politicians are seeking to rule. And so I think they should always speak to us in the way we should understand.
All right, these Katsina children that were kidnapped from the farm. I mean, when you go through the story, you find that the owner of the farm paid a levy to the bandits to even mobilize these children to the farm. And you find that the farm owner was levied 3 million. He paid 1 million and promised to pay the balance later. they didn't accept, and that was why this happened. So as much as the security operatives are carrying out all of this and recording successes, the issue of communities, farmers paying levy is still there.
Yeah, it means that a lot still has to be done in terms of convincing people to also own the security architecture, in terms of also the being proactive on the side of the security agencies. When they say something, say something, do something, community will see something, they will say something, then it's now left for the security agencies to do something.
All right.
And I still remember, just a moment.
Sorry, because of technical issues, I will have to interject. We'll get back so that you can continue with your thoughts there. Let's take this short breather, and when we return, the show continues.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
But in a situation where you find that they look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us here watching Daybreak on Trust Television. Yes, you may continue.
Yes, let me join where I was paused. You see, I still remember in Katsina, there was this lady that used her native intelligence to foil a kidnapped attempt. What happened was, they were in school when some people just drove in that place with some vehicles. And they said there was a competition in Katsina town and they needed the children over there. But who are you? We've not been informed. They said, no, it's urgent. That's why government sent us to carry these children. And the headmistress wasn't there, and the vice headmistress, the deputy headmistress wasn't there. So this class teacher said, look, what will happen is we'll just take a bike and go and bring the headmaster so that you'll be the one to do the written permission for these children to go. So at that one, when these people kicked their vehicles and ran away. So you see, at that point, such a lady ought to have been identified for having foiled, even without firing a gun. And so security, insecurity is a serious matter that belongs to everybody. We shouldn't just be sweeping things under the carpet.
All right, let's take a look at other stories.
Let's look at this story, still on the Daily Trust newspaper. EFCC probing Mambila project. This is according to the Power Minister. Mr. Sherman, I'd like you to speak about this project. This is a project that has been on the table for over 30 years. And since 2017, it has been receiving allocation every year. Till date, nothing.
And nobody is arrested. Now we are probing. You probe within when a regime is counting some days. You probe and you hand over the report to maybe some friendly friends of those who committed some crimes. And what is the result? We've seen all those probes. Mambila, you said 30 years. We're talking about 40-something years, this Mambila project. It's been, look, a pipe, a conduit pipe, where funds have been siphoned. And, of course, sometimes even those who are probing, they go into that knowing fully well that some people might have collected something. So in an attempt to go into this kind of a probe, you also get yours. And before you know it, reports will just be there, no action taken. There is also inaction. And because, some people's palms have been greased, you see that the result does not come out. After all, it's always said, Stella, that in Nigeria, when you want to find solutions to something, go to a conference. You want to find solution to something, set a panel, and the result will always end there without practical, real work.
But Mr. Chairman, why do we do this to major projects that are supposed to change the situation in the country? This would have been the biggest power generating installation in Nigeria. Look at almost the same thing is happening to the Ajokuta Steel.
You see, this thing you call corruption is real. It's real as in real. I remember speaking with a German over this Mambila. He said, if this thing, allow us to do this work and you see what will happen for the power sector in Nigeria. But some people are enjoying this kind of a drama. You're talking of Ajaokuta. I mean, when we were in secondary school, the staff from Russia lived in our secondary school compound. And we were told, look, I was in Form 1, 1976. We were told, see, these companies, you guys will come and work here. You are going to change the fortune of Nigeria. Today, I am a grandfather. I have not seen the sign. At the point it's been sold out to some Indians who will go and remove key components of the company and they export them. Didn't they pass through the ports? And of course, they took them to some other viable companies in some places. It was further compounded with the fact that as at the time Ajaokuta came on board, Russian Federation was one. And so when they broke into various republics, Ukraine, some of the engineers came from Ukraine. And you can see Ukraine and Russia are busy fighting. Some of them came from Russia. And some of them Lithuania, Latvia and co. So these are different republics. Now we just woke up, we are selling, we've sold. No, we are reacquiring it. No, we are going to deliver, so this is the amount it will take. We are always involved in a Maccabi kind of a dance. That does not help us. And this is where the fortune of Nigeria will come. We send electricity via Mambila to Ajaokuta. And Ajaokuta works. All the iron roads. Do you know we can design our own cars and quite a lot of things there? The iron ore, all of them. Our rail tracks, we can make the tracks from iron in these areas. I tell you, we're going to change the fortune of Nigeria. And before you know it, we are exporting our product. But here we are, always reading the book of Lamentation. And we look at the past with some interest.
Hopefully,
instead of the future.
Hopefully the probe by the EFCC this time around will yield some
I agree with you,
result.
it should yield result. But let me say something about EFCC. Truly, check some hotels in Abuja here. You've collected these hotels from a kind of a perceived criminal. And you just lock up these places. Send away workers. Is there no means you allow this place to work money is being, I mean,
Generated.
workers are there, money is being generated, and things are going into government coffers, and we paid it. But you just go and put everywhere on
Yeah.
that chain. You see places are becoming
but-
dilapidated.
but the issue
just
is-
check in this Abuja, you'll be
Yes,
shocked.
but the issue will have to be with the issue of litigation now. My belief is that some of these seizures is probably being considered in the courts, and then the EFCC have to secure for future, either temporary or permanent for future.
But that does not mean you should close down the place and send workers away and leave lizards to take over.
But then how does
you
it
go about
operate?
it?
How do you? The court will definitely give an order.
Well, the court can give an order, but this same order, when a law is injurious to the maker of the law, you tinker with it, we change it. Okay, instead of sealing the entire place and sending a workforce away and sending people more into the unemployment market, why don't we allow work to go on? We are doing our investigations behind. We can even go to court.
But
with this.
in what capacity will the EFCC be doing that? This is a matter that has not been concluded by the court. So on what grounds will EFCC be taking over that facility
You have
and
closed
put
it.
it to
You have
use?
closed it for 2 years, 5 years, 4 years. Litigations are going on. You've not taken over completely.
And what
It's a
happens if at the court, the court does not order for future? What now happens if before
Exactly.
then
So
the EFCC
how do you
has started
compensate?
working?
How do you
So
compensate
perhaps
the
we
owner?
should-
If after 5 years EFCC did not prove that there is a criminality.
Perhaps we should
No,
then be
but-
looking at the issue of fast-tracking some of the court proceedings so that some of the facilities don't go to waste.
Exactly.
I understand the dimension, but let's look at also another issue again, still about EFCC, bank fraud. Kogi Assembly candidate arrested with 326 million naira and also $610,500 yesterday by the EFCC. So this is also an interesting story considering the person that we are talking about. This is a candidate in an election that is supposed to go into an office and is now alleged to have engaged in fraud, this time around with banks.
Well,
What does this say about the caliber of people that vie for political office?
absolutely, there's what you call politically exposed persons when it comes to politics. In the banking sector, there is a KYC, know your customer. You have to know all of this. Incidentally, if this money is withdrawn from the bank, finance intelligence or financial intelligence unit that used to be with EFCC, they work in the banks there. The moment you withdraw this kind of large sums, they're supposed to alert EFCC.
It was a hack.
No, it was a heist that was carried out, and the EFCC and all the operatives have been working on this for a while before this arrest actually took place.
So it means, they are following, and EFCC probably got the win via the same FIU, Financial Intelligence Unit. So if it is so, the law should take its course. But again, there's also financial limitations as to how much a politician should spend on campaigns and all that stuff. So if this money is meant for campaigns and he's already passing his limit, of course he's breaking the law, surely.
When I saw this, it just justifies what the CBN says, that a lot of money is out there and needs to be mopped up.
Sure, and they're talking about trillions that are not within the vaults of commercial banks, and that requires some excess liquidity mopping. So that this is an attempt to force people who are hiding monies here and there to return them to the bank, so that there is a seeming way of controlling this.
Is there
we're
a
talking of
connection?
election where people will spend money to buy voters. So maybe it could be a
Do
way
you think
out
there's
in
a
that
connection
area.
between this and the raid of the BDCs yesterday by the EFCC? We understand that some BDC operators were arrested by the EFCC. So is there a connection between what the CBN is trying to do and, some of these revelations?
You see, I think the Gestapo kind of approach? You go show man to man and intimidate to carry out the law. I mean, you've already said, return this money to the banks. Let people return this money. Well, the CBN governor said there will be no consequence.
Yeah,
it's your money.
But
when you begin to rate...
Do you think that perhaps the BDCs are now considered as some kind of partners to some of these people who are hoarding the Naira?
Where did they get the money from? The money didn't fly from sky. My brother, if you are coming into Nigeria, first of all, how much cash do you have in your bank? You declare all of that. And if you are doing some business that is international, of course, the moment you wire money into an account, again, it is known. And you are always told to say sources of this money. And so if the bureau de change, you have them all over the place, and the money is in their hand. Of course, how do they get this? You can just simply do this quietly, and I mean, you can be simple but firm in approach to implementing the law. But it's not to show, I can do it, I'll destroy this. Sometimes it sends some fears into, investors who are supposed to be coming into our country. The way we handle it. And there are also times when you say you're displaying AK-47, all manner of calibers of weapons from armed robbers, from this. Yes, the police, you are doing your job. Sometimes the investor outside, they feel scared.
Right.
You mean this is what is being displayed in Nigeria, a kind of. And at the point when military will say, we have, neutralized about 100 ISWAP members of Boko Haram, Nigerians will always say, show us the corpses. Corpses are not too good for viewers via the tube, the television. And if you also look at the Nigerian laws, some of these things are not supposed to be on display.
Right.
But because some Nigerians would doubt that this has happened, okay, where are the corpses? And by the time you display all of this, again, Amnesty International will come. No, you kill people without trying them. It's a game that is so dicey.
Well, there's all manner of complexities to these issues, really, as we discuss them. Sometimes it sounds very simple, but I believe that there are a lot of dimensions to some of these issues. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak this morning and sharing your perspective.
My pleasure.
Our guest reviewer is Ben Shema, Director of News, Voice of Nigeria. He joins us to give perspectives to some of the stories on the front pages of our newspapers this morning. We'll take a short breather, and then when we return, it'll be time to take a look at the headlines again and also delve into our next discussion. Join us again.
But in a situation where you find that a look like the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.